Today is week 19, day 3. When we determine sequence, we look for the order in which things happen. What kind of writing do we need to make sure we have sequence on? Instructions, we'd want a sequence. Recipes, because you'd need to know what comes first, next, and next. A biography, you'd want sequence. You'd maybe start when he was young or her. Biographies are stories about people, and then you'd hear, what they did when they were older and kind of go the order of their life, all the important events they did in order. You're The instructions say, pay attention to the steps used in making shoes long ago. And as we read this, we want to practice the monitor comprehension. And that's where, as you read, you make sure that you're understanding what you read. And if you don't understand, because sometimes you can read and your mind wanders and you realize you don't know what you read. And in that case, you have to go back sometimes and read it again. Shoes from long ago. Long ago, people owned only 1 or 2 pairs of shoes. They were made by a shoemaker who used hides or skins of horses, cows, pigs, or goats. Making a pair of shoes could take days. The shoemaker first, that's a time order word, measured a person's feet, then chose the wooden shoe-shaped form that was the right size. This was called a last. The shoemaker stretched a piece of hide over each last to shape the shoe. He used the last to cut soles and heels too. These were cut out of the thickest part of the hide. Strong tools were needed to sew the parts of the shoes together. The shoemaker used an awl to punch holes in the pieces. He then used a stiff hog hair as a needle. The shoemaker sewed the top part of the shoes to the soles. He then cleaned and polished the shoes. Finally, the shoemaker nailed on the heels. Before brass nails came into use, the heels were held on with wooden pegs. It's no wonder that a shoemaker was an important man in the village. Why does a cobbler use lasts? Now, you can come back up and skim where we talked about last and to help you remember what that was. To shape the shoes correctly, to sew the pieces together, to make holes in the hide, or to measure the feet. Number 2, which step comes after sewing? Polishing shoes, marking hide, carving last, punching holes. So to find this answer, what comes after sewing, you would come back to the story and you would look for the word sew. You'd kind of skim, and I see the word sew here, and then you'd have to see what comes after that. Which one does the cobbler use before he cuts the pieces? An awl, a needle, nails, or a last? So before he cuts the pieces, so you got to look to where you see cut. Part of the story where you see cut. Here's a cut. I don't know if there's a cut somewhere else, But you should look all around, and then you can see what happens before he cuts the pieces. Number 4, a shoemaker's last step is, well, last, where would last be located? Last would be kind of at the end, wouldn't it? And sometimes the word finally, I forgot to tell you, that's a time order word too. Finally can sometimes be, it shows what happens at the very end. Look back at the passage. Number the first 4 steps in making shoes long ago. So, you're going to come back here and you'll put a number 1. 1. Measure the person's foot. 2. He stretched the hide. 3. And then cut. 3. Sew. 4. 5. 6. But it just told you to tell the first 4 steps. So you can look at that.